I don't understand why many gamers initially didn't like Wind Waker. It's a great game. The sailing was a little tedious, but I found it relaxing. As for the graphics, Nintendo was just trying something new with the cell shading. It gave the game a unique charm, and it certainly had aesthetic relevance. Besides, the game had many other great qualities such as well-structured story, some comic relief, challenging dungeons, and epic boss battles such as Mulgera, Goma, and the winner of the number 6 spot, the Helmrock King. The servant of Ganondorf, the Helmrock King, is responsible for the kidnapping of Link's sister Auril, and for flinging Link across the sea, nearly killing him. So once you save Auril and reach the top of the Forsaken Fortress, the Helmrock King appears, and it's on! At first, the room starts to fill with water, and you have to climb the tower further using the spiral path in the room, all while avoiding Bokoblins and the Helmrock King's assault. Once you've reached the top, the battle really begins. The Helmrock King has a vast arsenal of attacks, including a swooping claw attack, stomping, creating a gust of wind, and a powerful peck. However, if the peck misses, he'll be stuck for a short while and you must use a skull hammer to break his helmet, revealing his weak point. From here, you can use your sword, hammer, arrows, the boomerang, and even the grappling hook to damage him. Once he's taken enough damage, he's defeated and you proceed to confront Ganondorf. This battle is not only great because of the combat, but because the situation where it's presented motivates you to win. Also, the atmosphere successfully establishes the mood, and this boss looks freaking cool. Combined with memorable music, and you have the number 6 boss on my list. This next boss is from Oracle of Ages, and it is a perfect example of how complete a boss battle can really be, especially for a Game Boy Color game. Most bosses in the Zelda series have a maximum of 2 stages, but Ramrock from the Ancient Tomb has 4 stages. 4 stages! In the first stage, you have to use your sword to deflect Ramrock's fists back into his face. And since Ramrock is constantly moving, that task is easier said than done. Once you've hit him a few times, Ramrock will replace his fists with spiked gauntlets and proceed to try and crush you. In this stage, you have to throw your bombs in between the gauntlets as he slams them together and it'll explode in his face for damage. Then he'll replace his gauntlets with shields and then produce energy balls to attack you. Here, you have to use your seed shooter, to bounce seeds off the back wall and then make them hit his back. In the final stage, he'll replace his shields with ball and chains and then try to smash your face in. Here, you have to use your power glove to pull back one of the ball and chains enough for it to recoil back straight into his face. Finally, after taking so many hits, Ramrock gives up the ghost and is defeated. This is a boss where, while the design is okay at best, the completeness is what made it a real favorite in my eyes. The Legend of Zelda has a trend of having Link travel between 2 worlds, whether it's 2 different times, 2 different dimensions, or 2 totally different areas. The Minish Cap got creative with the concept by having Link travel between the normal world and the world in the eyes of the Minish, a race of tiny creatures no bigger than a grain of rice. Most of the boss battles in this game require you to switch between big and small to defeat them. However, the best boss in my opinion doesn't utilize that trick. The Gyorg pair from the Palace of Winds. The first time I fought this boss, I was astonished. You're fighting 2 giant manta rays that are flying across the sky, and you are jumping from one to the other, damaging them as you go. That is freaking awesome! To fight this boss, the big Gyorg will reveal 3 eyes that are, you guessed it, his weak points. You have to attack them simultaneously by using the white sword and the cloning panels to create clones and slash away. Once the damage is done, the big Gyorg will retreat and you have to use the Rock's Cape to jump onto the little Gyorg. You have to slash the little Gyorg's eyes as they appear while using the Rock's Cape to avoid its tail attack. Once you've damaged it enough, it's back onto the big Gyorg to repeat the process. Only this time, the little Gyorg will try to mess you up by firing energy balls at you and then sending mini Gyorgs to distract you. This battle ultimately has the full package. It's atmospheric. It looks awesome, it's creative and clever, the battle is epic, and it definitely gives the player a great challenge. And here's the thing, this boss is only number 4. I had a hard time with this one. Choosing the greatest boss from probably the greatest game in the series wasn't easy. So who is it? Phantom Ganondorf? Nope. Bongo Bongo? Nope. These bosses are great, but I had to go with Twinrova from the Spirit Temple. Where do I begin with this boss? Twinrova is actually Kum and Kotake, 2 witch sisters who are supposedly Ganondorf's surrogate mother. If that's the case, I can only wonder who the father is.
Maybe it was Fred Fox.
Oh, thanks, James. Anyway, after defeating an Iron Knuckle who actually turns out to be a brainwashed Nabooru, Link proceeds to take on the 2 sisters. And it's awesome! The 2 witch sisters attack using their own respective element. Kum uses fire while Kotake uses ice. To defeat them, you must use the mirror shield to reflect the energy from one witch to the other, which can be tricky since you have 2 targets to worry about. Once the 2 witches have taken enough damage, they fuse together to become— oh good god! These 2 elderly, ugly-looking witches fuse together to form that. Eesh. Anyway, in this phase of the fight, you only have to worry about 1 target, but the difficulty hasn't changed. Twinrova will proceed to use fire and ice to attack you. The trick is that reflecting the energy isn't enough. You have to use your shield to absorb the energy, and once you've done that 3 times, the shield will release the energy to stun Twinrova, making her vulnerable to your sword. It may seem simple, but you have to collect 3 of the same energy for it to work, and sometimes Twinrova will throw a curveball at you and use the opposite element than that of what you need. If you're not careful, that energy will pierce the shield and hit you for massive damage. This battle is just as complete and unique as the one against the Gyork pair, but what puts it higher is the cutscene at the end of the battle. It's freaking hilarious! Link has faced a lot of things throughout his adventures, including giant creatures, skilled warriors, and even himself. In some games, Link will be faced with a dark version of himself in hand-to-hand combat, from the Dark Link final boss in Zelda 2, to the Dark Link you face in the Water Temple of Ocarina of Time, which I consider my favorite mini-boss in the series. However, there is one game that took this concept and ramped it up to the max to make one of the greatest boss battles in Zelda history. The Dark Links from A Link to the Past. This is a secret boss that you can only find in the Game Boy Advance version, and here, you're facing not 1, but 4 dark versions of yourself, in allusion to the 4 sword. This boss doesn't have a certain method to beat it. It's just you fighting each Dark Link blade to blade, 1 at a time, and you better hope you have plenty of potions and fairies in stock. Because this battle is hard! Not only is it hard due to the Dark Links guarding almost every attack you throw at them, but each one has its own signature move. The first Dark Link uses a dash attack as if he had the Pegasus boots. The second one also has that attack, but adds a dashing spin attack in its arsenal. The third Dark Link adds to it further by being able to disappear to avoid attacks, as well as a downward thrust attack. The fourth Dark Link is the hardest of them all. Along with using all the attacks that the previous Dark Links used, it has the most HP of all the others, and it adds to its attack library by being able to use the Sword Beam. This fight is really tough, and it gets your adrenaline going since there is no clear-cut way to beat them. The music, though it does play for every boss fight, is also very fitting for a fight like this. Ultimately, this fight is amazing. It's challenging, it's symbolic of the story of the Four Sword, the music is fitting, and it's just downright memorable. Now the question remains, what could beat this? Alright, before we get to my number 1 Zelda boss, let's recap. Number 15, Manhandla. Number 14, the Slime Eel. Number 13, Deguchi Tato. Number 12, Jalhalla. Number 11, Dig Dogger. Number 10, Kriak. Number 9, Kragma. Number 8, the Thunderbird. Number 7, Got. Number 6, the Helmrock King. Number 5, Ramrock. Number 4, the Gjork Pair. Number 3, Twinrova. And number 2, the Dark Lynx. Alright, through the process of elimination, you've probably already guessed that my number 1 is from the Twilight Princess. Still, I have to explain something before I reveal number 1. To me, there is a difference between what I know is my favorite and what I think is the best. In Twilight Princess, my favorite boss battle from the game is actually Argorok from the City in the Sky. However, as much as I love this boss, it's not my number 1. For a boss to be my number 1, it has to combine all the criteria I mentioned earlier and demonstrate it in the best way possible. That boss is Zant from the Palace of Twilight. Let's go through this in order. Zant's look, to say the least, is weird. But what do you expect from a villain from the Twilight Realm? Plus, the scene back at the lake bed pretty much showed that this guy is seriously creepy. Which fits because this guy's personality and antics are just bizarre. Also, besides Ganondorf, this is the guy that is responsible for making Link's life and Midna's life a living hell. So when you finally fight this guy, you can't wait to make him pay for what he did. And then there's the battle. It's awesome! First of all, Ramrock may have 4 stages, but Zant has 6 stages. 6 freaking stages!
What? How many stages?
Each phase goes back to the previous battles you've gone through. The first phase takes you back to the Forest Temple, where you must use the Gale Boomerang to fight him as you did against Diababa. The second phase takes you to the Goron Mines, where you have to use the Iron Boots to prevent Zant from knocking you into the lava pool. The third phase takes you to the Lakebed Temple, where you have to switch into the Zora armor and use the Iron Boots to fight Zant underwater. Here, you have to use the double claw shots to drag him out of one of the 4 giant Zant masks in the room. The fourth phase takes you back to the Forest Temple, this time where you have to roll against wooden pillars to make Zant fall flat on his face, as you did against Ook the baboon. The fifth phase takes you to the Snow Peak Temple, where Zant tries to stomp you in a similar fashion as Blazetta did, and you have to use the ball and chain to fight him. Also, in case you haven't noticed, the music that plays in this fight is the same throughout, but different instruments and styles are used depending on the phase. Once you defeat Zant in the Snow Peak Temple, the gloves come off and Zant is officially done messing around. You are transported to Hyrule Castle, where the battle becomes a blade-to-blade, no-holds-barred sword fight against Zant. In this phase, Zant attacks with 2 razor-sharp blades and has several different attacks, including slashes, a blade flurry, and a hurricane spin that can sneak up on you if you're not careful. Also, since Zant teleports all over the arena, you will get hurt in this fight. This battle also foreshadows the final battle against Ganondorf later on, and Zant's frantic yelling and the music that plays in this phase definitely tells you that this battle is serious. Finally, once Zant is defeated, you are transported back to the Palace of Twilight, where you will witness probably the most gruesome cutscene in Zelda history. In short, this battle is the whole package. The battle plays well, the character is memorable, the difficulty is appropriate, the music is awesome, and all in all, this battle is just plain fun. Truly worthy of being named the greatest boss battle in Legend of Zelda history. I'm the Green Scorpion, and I'm off to finish Skyward Sword. Until next time.